I just jumped out of the STI and into this base model manual WRX, and frankly I expected to be more than a little disappointed at being unceremoniously dumped back in economy from business class. But I wasn't, happily enough. Full details next. I'm John Cadogan from autoexpert.com.au, the place where Aussie new car buyers save thousands off their next new cars. Hit me up on the website for that. Far from being underwhelmed at my ersatz demotion to economy here, I actually kind of like this car. In some ways, it's even more fun to drive than the STI. Purists will doubtless be pounding the keyboard indignantly, but I can think of 12,000 really good reasons up front why I like the base model WRX a whole lot more than an STI. Everyone always talks about bang for your buck, and hardly anyone ever quantifies it. So why don't we have a crack at that? You can quantify performance. You can have Nana's Camry, Nana's Yaris down here, 0% performance, and you could have, I don't know, some arbitrary 100% performance like that. And then out here you can have price, and price is open-ended. You could buy a Veyron if you wanted to, or a Koenigsegg, but let's just say we put a cap here at 200k and we bought some, I don't know, some BMW M something, a nice speedy BMW, that'd be okay. And basically we kind of get 100% performance for 200,000 bucks, let's say. But if you step down a bit, and I don't know what sort of a step down it would be, how much it would be, but let's just say you spend about a third of the price, which would be 60-something thousand bucks on an STI, the way you want it. I reckon you'd get about 90% of the performance, 90? Anyway, something like that. So you're only paying a third of the bucks, let's call it 60k, and you're getting 90% of the performance. Well, if you step down, and it's not much of a step down, but if you step down to 40 grand, then I reckon you're getting 85%, something like that. So to me, it represents really good value to see a car with sort of arbitrarily, without measuring it, but it would be something like this, 85% of the performance of your $200,000 M supercar for 40 grand. You're only paying, 20% of the price, and you're getting 85% of the performance. So what a flat out fantastic deal that is. Anyway, I think you can see this as basically the law of diminishing returns, because if we're here, even if we're here at say 80%, and we want to get to 100%, we have to spend 5 times the dough. And then you have to ask yourself, is it just bragging rights, or are you really the kind of driver who could get in that $200,000 M car and drive it the way its maker intended, within an inch of its life, and extract all of that performance at every point on a track? And I'd suggest to you, most of the people with 200 grand to spend on a car like that, they wouldn't be any quicker, except possibly in a straight line on a drag strip, than they would anywhere else on the track in a car like this WRX. It's sticky and it's firm, and I'm sure there's a joke there, but let's keep it classy for a change. To me, this car is the Goldilocks overall tune for a performance car that you could also live with every day. WRX sits seemingly dead flat in corners, the steering is precise and the ride's firm but not brutal like the STI, and it's so neutral, meaning you can tweak its attitude really easily with the throttle. It's certainly not the epitome of comfort. It's the epitome of value and chuckableness. And I know that's not a word, but hey, it should be. In many ways, this car seeks not to highlight every driving deficiency you ever exhibit in the way an STI does. WRX proves to me you really don't need 100 different driver selectable modes and settings. This thing just works out of the box. The Apple Mac of performance cars. Wet, dry, sealed, unsealed, it's a blast. And despite the firm ride, it's not skittish on rough surfaces. This car is so forgiving in the way that a Subaru BRZ just isn't. You know, in the BRZ, you have to be so mindful of the interplay between steering and throttle, particularly on the way out of a bend. WRX, well, it gives you more rope, but that doesn't mean it won't also hang you out to dry comprehensively if you ignore its messages and just press on like a muppet. We've had WRXs on Australian roads for 25 years now, and on objective criteria, this one, well, it's the best Rex ever. But it's okay to romanticise the past. I mean, if you've got this infatuation thing going on with a World Rally Championship blue bug-eyed Rex from donkey's years ago, don't let me get in the way of that. Just bear in mind that you are looking at the world through rose-coloured glasses. It's also pretty clear that the Subaru WRX has lost its place in the drug transportation and ram rating halls of fame. And as nostalgic as those halcyon glory days were, I'm pretty sure the chaps in the boardroom at Subaru Central are patting themselves on the back for a reputational job well done there. Because today, a middle-aged white man can drive a WRX with impunity and certainly without feeling as if he is a paid-up member of the Neddy Smith fan club. It's 6 seconds flat to 100 k's an hour, and in the wet, it's one of the fastest, most confidence-inspiring cars that you will ever drive. Always a super rewarding experience. Compared with the STI, it's 0.8 seconds slower to 100 k's an hour. There's your trade-off, and there's your saving. When you calculate it out, the saving is $15,000 a second. And on that basis alone, bang for your buck, I'll take one.